Canelo is old. Canelo is looking like shit. He could barely beat Triple G, who sucked. He got his ass beat by Bivol, who's long, keeps his range, keeps his distance. I'm bigger than Canelo.
You know what I'm saying?
I weigh more than Canelo.
The thought of a fight between Jake Paul and Canelo Álvarez is one that sparks heated debate and intense curiosity among fight fans. On one hand, we have Jake Paul, the YouTube star turned professional boxer, who has made headlines in recent years by taking on MMA fighters and fellow influencers. While many initially dismissed Paul's boxing career as a sideshow, he has proven time and time again that he has the drive, power, and ability to knock out his opponents in the ring. But facing Canelo Álvarez, arguably one of the greatest pound-for-pound boxers of this generation, would be an entirely different story. It's a fight that would shake the boxing world to its core, a true David versus Goliath matchup, and the clash of two worlds, entertainment versus elite skill. Let's break it down. Jake Paul, despite all the criticism, has built an impressive resume for someone so new to the sport. He's taken the training seriously, bringing in top coaches, including former champions, and investing in his development as a fighter. His knockout power is undeniable, and we've seen him put down opponents like Tyron Woodley and Ben Askren with relative ease. However, it's important to note that Paul's opponents so far have been largely non-boxers, MMA fighters past their prime, or other social media influencers. The leap from fighting those types of athletes to stepping into the ring with someone of Canelo's caliber is monumental. Canelo Álvarez, on the other hand, is a living legend. A four-division world champion, Canelo has faced and defeated some of the best fighters in the world, including Gennady Golovkin, Sergey Kovalev, Miguel Cotto, and Billy Joe Saunders. He possesses an incredible ring IQ, unmatched defensive skills, and devastating body punches. Canelo's ability to dictate the pace of a fight, slip punches, and counter with precise, powerful shots is something Jake Paul has never faced before. The experience gap between the two fighters is almost incomprehensible. Canelo has been in the ring with legends, whereas Jake is still in the early stages of his boxing career. So what would a fight between Jake Paul and Canelo look like? From the opening bell, Canelo would most likely be the aggressor, using his incredible head movement to slip Paul's jabs and close the distance. Paul, who has relied on his size and reach advantage in past fights, would quickly realize that Canelo's ability to move in and out of range is on a different level. Canelo's pressure would force Paul to backpedal, something we haven't seen much from the YouTube star in his previous bouts. Canelo is also a master at setting traps. He'll use feints, subtle movements, and positioning to lure his opponent into throwing punches, only to counter with devastating combinations. Jake Paul's best chance in this fight would be to use his power and try to land a big shot early. He's shown that he can throw a powerful overhand right, and if he manages to catch Canelo cleanly, it could potentially change the dynamic of the fight. However, landing that shot on someone as defensively sound as Canelo is a nearly impossible task. Canelo has faced and withstood the power of some of the hardest hitters in boxing, including Gennady Golovkin, who is widely considered one of the most powerful punchers in the sport. Jake would need to be flawless in his execution, but even then, the likelihood of him landing a fight-changing punch is slim. One of the biggest factors working against Jake Paul in this fight would be endurance. Boxing at the highest level is about much more than just power. It's about stamina, pacing, and being able to maintain a high level of performance for multiple rounds. Canelo is a veteran of 12-round championship fights, and he knows how to conserve energy and slowly break down his opponents. Paul, on the other hand, has never been in a fight beyond 8 rounds, and has not yet proven that he has the cardio to hang with someone like Canelo over the course of a long, grueling fight. As the rounds progress, Canelo would likely start to increase the pressure, cutting off the ring and going to the body with his trademark liver shots, something Paul would find difficult to withstand. The psychological factor is another important aspect of this fight. Canelo has fought in massive arenas, under immense pressure, and against fighters who have been boxing their entire lives. Jake Paul, while accustomed to the spotlight, has never faced someone of Canelo's stature. The sheer gravity of the occasion, fighting one of the greatest boxers of all time, could weigh heavily on Paul. Canelo is not just physically strong, he's mentally tough, with years of experience dealing with the biggest moments in the sport. If Paul were to find himself in trouble early, it's questionable whether he would be able to recover mentally, or if the occasion would simply be too overwhelming. In the later rounds, the fight would likely become increasingly one-sided. Canelo, having systematically broken down Paul, would start to land clean shots with more frequency. His ability to mix up his attack, targeting both the head and body, would leave Paul with very few options. As fatigue sets in, Paul's defense would start to weaken, and Canelo's precision would take over. At this point, a stoppage or knockout would be the most likely outcome. Canelo has the ability to finish fights in devastating fashion, and once he senses his opponent is hurt, he's one of the best in the business at closing the show. However, let's not underestimate Jake Paul's ability to surprise people. He's proven that he's willing to take on challenges that many thought were beyond him. And while a fight against Canelo seems like a mismatch on paper, Paul has made a career out of defying expectations. His dedication to the sport, combined with his physical attributes, makes him a dangerous opponent for anyone. But facing Canelo is a different level entirely. This isn't just a step up in competition, it's like climbing Mount Everest after hiking up a small hill. In conclusion, a fight between Jake Paul and Canelo Álvarez would be fascinating for a number of reasons. It would bring massive attention to the sport, drawing casual fans, and undoubtedly be a financial success. But from a competitive standpoint, the gap between the two fighters is immense. Canelo's experience, skill, and ability to adapt in the ring would almost certainly be too much for Paul to handle. It's a fight that would capture the imagination of the boxing world, but the outcome seems inevitable. Canelo Álvarez, one of the greatest boxers of all time, would likely dismantle Jake Paul, showing once again the difference between a seasoned champion and an up-and-comer still learning the ropes. Nevertheless, the mere possibility of such a fight speaks volumes about how far Jake Paul has come. From YouTube to potentially stepping into the ring with Canelo Álvarez is an achievement in itself, regardless of the result. And who knows? In boxing, anything can happen, and that's what makes it so exciting.